Well, hello, good evening. My name is David Cabrera. I'm currently studying at the Universidad de Celaya. I'm at 8th semester, and this is the class of Six Sigma imparted by Professor Marco Trujillo. Well, I currently have 24 years old, and I'm an apprentice in the supply chain department at the forge plant at GKN here in Celaya. Well, what I'm going to talk about you is benchmarking. Well, what is benchmarking? Benchmarking is comparing business processes and performance metrics to industry best and best practices from other companies.
Yes.
Well, benchmarking is used to compare process indicators such as quality, money, cost per unit, cycle per unit, time, and everything related to the industry. Are there many types of benchmarking? Well, we're going to see it right now. Oh well, there are, as you can see, 11 types of benchmarking. The first one, financial benchmarking. Well, financial benchmarking talks about performing a financial analysis and comparing the results over the assets to overall competitiveness and productivity. The investor perspective VM talks about extending the benchmarking universe to also compare to peer companies that can be considered alternative investment opportunities. Well, the public sector benchmarking compares the public administration, where you're trying to compare maybe Celaya governments to Salvatierra's government, or maybe to a higher level such as the federal government. That's where we talk about the public sector BM. The performance benchmarking, well, it's focused to aim to the performance of specifically the quality of your system. The product VM, as the name says, it aims to the product. How much is invested in the product. A strategic benchmarking is what strategy you use to improve your productivity and maybe other key process indicators along your industry thoughts. Functional benchmarking is the classical way of thinking of benchmarking, just comparing you against a competitor, maybe internal, so you can see in which areas you succeed, in which areas you do not succeed.
Tres.
Well, as you can see here in the best class benchmarking, it involves studying the best competitor or maybe the lead industry related to the specific function you're trying to study. The operational benchmarking involves, generally speaking, all of the ways of trying to improve your process and strategic, maybe a combination of these both kinds of benchmarking. And last but not least, the energy benchmarking. It uses energy collecting data related to eco-friendly issues. Well, now I am going to show you the 12-stage process that you must follow to complete a good benchmarking process. Well, first of all, you have to select your subject. What is what you want to study or to compare? Then you have to define the process, just to narrow your scope. Then you have to identify potential partners. You can be internal, maybe your own team members of your company, a brother company, or the most wanted is you have to compare with a competitor, your enemy. Then you have to identify data sources. Where are you going to get that data? Maybe from a spy, maybe from a survey, from a consultant. Then you have to collect all that data and select which partners you're going to focus with. After that, you have to determine the gap. The gap is a space between you and your competitor on what are you comparing. Then you have to establish process differences, the main differences between your process and the other's process. Then you have to target future performance. You have to kind of promise what you're going to improve. Then you have to communicate. You have to tell what did you obtain with this investigation to your team members and to your competitors. Then you have to adjust your goal. You have to adjust this gap using this future performance. And then you have to implement. This is the most difficult part, because in this part it determines whether you succeed or whether you fail. And then after all, you have to review and recalibrate to start the process all over again. Now I'm going to show you an example. Well, as I told you before, I'm currently an apprentice at the GKN forging plant here at Celaya, in the supply chain department. Well, I want to show you this example with something I really into, something I really know, so I can tell you about my experiences, and this is a theme I think I master. Well, first you have to select the subject. We have to select the forging plant and the key process indicators. The second process, the narrow process, will be the forging, specifically the warm and cold stage. We have to select our potential partners. I'm talking about GKN Tochigi, Japan. It's another forging plant which is located in the northern part of Tokyo. We have to identify the data. You know, the OEE, quality issues, cycle times, delivery schedule achievement, everything. We have to gather the data. How are we going to gather the data? Maybe with phone conferences, emails, the official web page. We have to determine the gap. For example, Tochigi plant just have 32 models of constant velocity joints, against GKN Celaya has 162. We have to establish differences. You know, we here at Celaya have 4 forging presses versus Japan, which only have just 1. We have to target future performance. For example, even though the Japanese only have 1 press, their OEE is bigger than us. And even though they have more changeovers, which is really astonishing. We have to communicate our results to the team, to the GKN team, Celaya and Japan. We have to adjust our goal. We have to look up to those people that seem that are the best in class in their company. Then we have to implement. How are we going to do this? Maybe with some advice from them, the experience gathered with oral college, and then we have to review and recalibrate and think that maybe that is the best idea or maybe not, and then we have to start all over again. Well, it was an example. As a conclusion, I can say that benchmarking is a really useful tool to comparing key process indicators between two different processes or 2 products, whether they are from the same company or rival companies. It's really useful because it can tell you where you are.